your_favorite_singer. It's Facebook and Instagram. My grown children say my Instagram is not very good, but I'm working on it. But I'd love for you to join me. There's a link to a website where you can listen to free music from me. So if I don't see you again, thank you so much for coming out and supporting this program and AirVenture. And I wish you a safe trip home. If I see you again, I'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ed McElhenney. I am absolutely thrilled to be here right now. First of all, I get a chance to put a flight suit on for the first time. If you haven't been here, this is our 7th presentation at AirVenture this season, if you will. And I've been the moderator for the first 6 of them, basically. And I am not going to be the moderator this time. I know it's going to disappoint, and some of you people are going to go, great, now who are we going to get next? But I opted out on this one because we have a very special program this morning. Like I said, I get a chance to wear a flight suit. I'm an old fighter pilot, and we're going to have 4 other fighter pilots out here very shortly. And you can see what the airplanes are. If you don't know what they are, as a MiG-29 Fulcrum, okay, that's an F-5 freedom fighter, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm not going to talk about it, but what I am going to do is, first of all, just say thank you. Thanks for being here, and I have to thank the people who allow this to happen. First and foremost, we've got ScottsMiracle-Gro, Jim Hagedorn. If you were here at 6 o'clock this morning like I was, he was flying one of those P-51 Mustangs out there, and he is gone now. But Scotts has been a strong, strong supporter of this organization and this program forever. Next, Fagen Fighters, the Fagen World War II Fighter Museum, Granite Falls, Minnesota. Ron and Diane, I don't know if they're out here today. Maybe not, I'm not sure. But again, strong, strong supporters of this program. Compliments of them, we have that Quonset hut right there. And then last but not least, inside that Quonset hut are a bunch of people that really make this thing happen. Air-to-Air TV, Scott and Kyle Guyette are the people who organize, run, get this team together, and do a spectacular job. I think if you heard, I don't know, 18 million people saw this program last year, streamed online, et cetera. So you're part of a very large group at this point. Again, the program is going to be moderated today by my wife, Connie Bolin, back there. Oh, she's got the green flight suit on, okay? And those other guys, I can call them by their call signs, but I won't say star of the show, but the guy with the big name, Jared Isaacman, is the next guy in line there. We've got Leif Erickson back there, and Stroker. Call signs, Stroker, Rook, CJ, Leif. Dusty was mine, but I'm not going to count. We're going to begin the program, of course, as usual, with the video. We have a very good video, and then I'm going to turn the mic back over to Connie, and she's going to start the program. So again, thank you so much for being here. We thank our sponsors for allowing this to happen, and we thank our veterans and the people who've made this happen. So with that, let's begin the video.
During the height of the Cold War, the race for air superiority pushed aviation technology to its limits. Across 2 rival superpowers, engineers and pilots competed to dominate the skies. Out of this intense rivalry emerged aircraft built for very different missions, but the same unforgiving purpose: to win the fight in the air. Fast, agile, lethal, and shaped by the constant pressure of Cold War competition. On one side stood Soviet fighters like the MiG-29 Fulcrum. The MiG-29 first flew in 1977, capable of reaching speeds beyond Mach 2. It was developed by the Soviet Union during the 1970s as a fourth-generation twin-engine fighter, created specifically to counter America's newest aircraft. Jets like the F-15 Eagle and the F-16 Fighting Falcon. But the Cold War aviation story was not only about the biggest, fastest, or most powerful fighters. It was also about aircraft that could teach pilots how to fight them. That is where the Northrop F-5 Tiger became so important. Small, supersonic, reliable, and highly maneuverable, the F-5 was designed around simplicity, performance, and low operating cost. The original F-5 first flew in 1963, and the improved F-5E Tiger II followed in 1972. It became one of the most successful lightweight fighter designs of the Cold War. Compact, responsive, and difficult to see in a turning fight, the Tiger gave pilots a realistic opponent in close air combat. That made it a natural fit for U.S. adversary and aggressor squadrons. Painted in foreign-style camouflage and flown using enemy tactics, F-5s helped American fighter pilots train against the kind of threat they might face in combat. For generations of Navy and Air Force aviators, the Tiger became a stand-in for Soviet-designed fighters. It was not a MiG, but in the training arena, it could act like one. And that role gave the F-5 an enduring place in Cold War aviation history. By the late 1980s, production of the Fulcrum had reached remarkable levels. In 1988 alone, Soviet factories produced 228 single-seat MiG-29 fighters and more than 50 two-seat trainers. By the time the Soviet Union dissolved, well over 1,000 MiG-29s had been built. One particular aircraft tells a remarkable story. A MiG-29UB, the two-seat trainer version of the fighter. It was built in September of 1989 during the final years of the Cold War. Originally assigned to the 642nd Fighter Regiment in Voznesensk in what is now Ukraine. The aircraft carried the nose number 64. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the jet transferred to the Ukrainian Air Force, but its journey was far from over. Years later, the aircraft entered the international aviation market. In 2005, it was sold to the United States after being refurbished and demilitarized. By 2011, the fighter had been restored to flight status. For a time, the MiG belonged to Paul Allen, the Microsoft co-founder and aviation collector. Allen was known for preserving historic aircraft in exceptional condition. And his MiG-29 was widely regarded as one of the finest examples in private hands. After Allen's passing, the aircraft found a new owner. entrepreneur, pilot, and future NASA administrator Jared Isaacman. Long before his leadership role at NASA, Isaacman built his reputation in the cockpit. He founded Draken International, a high-performance aviation company that provides adversary training for military pilots, allowing them to practice air combat against realistic threats at a fraction of the cost of operating frontline military fighters. By replicating near-peer adversaries with real fighter aircraft and pilots who understand both Western and opposing tactics, Draken reinforces a lesson first learned from the Cold War. Capability gaps often result from complacency. Yet the MiG-29 was never a business investment. It was a personal aircraft acquired simply for the challenge and excitement of flying one of the most formidable fighter jets ever built. Isaacman describes the aircraft as incredibly powerful. With afterburners engaged during takeoff, the jet launches down the runway like a rocket ship. In his words, it's definitely the most impressive aircraft I have flown. For Isaacman, flying the Fulcrum also carries a deeper meaning. One of his most influential mentors was the legendary naval aviator Dale Snort Snodgrass. A former U.S. Navy F-14 demonstration pilot, Snodgrass was known for his mastery of high-performance flight. But the lessons he taught went beyond the cockpit. Respect the aircraft, prepare relentlessly, and never underestimate the responsibility that comes with pushing the limits. From the lightweight F-5 Tiger to the powerful MiG-29 Fulcrum, Cold War fighters were more than machines. They were classrooms, weapons, symbols, and tests of human discipline. Those lessons eventually carried Isaacman beyond aviation and into space. Because the mindset required to fly a Cold War fighter and to command a spacecraft or to lead the future of exploration is built on the same foundation: discipline, preparation, and trust in the team. Sometimes, the path to the stars begins with a fighter jet.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome these gentlemen to your stage. And after that video, could I have a hand of applause for Scott Guyat, who puts that video together, and his wife Kyle, who wrote that, and of course with the content that Jared's group provided to them, that gave us a great history for that. And it is again my pleasure. Jared Isaacman, Todd Erickson, and Stroker, but we'll call him Sean Gustafson. Please, gentlemen, have a seat, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Connie Boland, as Ed said. I have been given the honor and the pleasure of being your moderator today for this program. In one way, you say this could be a very daunting and intimidating process, but these gentlemen here, their records and their military service and now their service to NASA and beyond is something that speaks for itself, and it will be in a lot of ways easy to moderate this program because each one of them has a story to tell, and their credentials speak for themselves, and I think all of you will probably know what they have done. So let's start with Jared. Aviation. Did you have an aviation family, or what prompted you to become a pilot? Because to me, you are a pilot, and those of us who are fortunate to fly airplanes, somebody influenced us to get us there.
Com check. Good. All right. First, it is, thank you for the question. It's awesome to be here right now. Any day we get to talk about aviation is just great, especially here at EAA Oshkosh, America's largest air show. And before we begin, I just want to say the whole musical performance leading up to this was just extraordinary. So I think a round of applause as well. We're listening to the whole thing inside. Teresa did an extraordinary job. And yeah, thanks to all of you for coming out here, braving the heat, all the veterans that are here. Thank you so much for that. The answer in terms of my aviation background is entirely my parents didn't want to pay for a babysitter, so I was put in front of the television from a very young age, and of course, you know, the original Top Gun, Right Stuff, Space Camp. I mean, that's why I went to Space Camp as a kid, is I was convinced that if I went, there'd be a robot that would named Jinx that would put me into space. And I realized that for 90% of you, you don't know what I'm talking about because it's an 80s movie and I'm dating myself. But that was all the influence. I built my first computer because I wanted to play flight simulators, went to Aviation Challenge at Space Camp because I wanted to fly. Always was enamored with space, but I thought as good as it's going to get is strapping into an aircraft like one of this, and been fortunate to have an awesome aviation career and get to fly with some reasonably okay people.
Yeah, to these reasonably okay people, Leif, tell us a little bit about your background and your association with Jared and what it's like to operate one of these and have that opportunity now.
Absolutely. So EAA has a really special place in my heart. I actually started coming here with my dad, who was an airline pilot, back when I was about 6 years old. So I've been coming to Oshkosh forever. Remembering and watching some of the greats like Bob Hoover perform, you know, set me on the path. My dad taught me to fly. We actually built a two-place Stitz Playboy. For those of you that don't know that, that was the aircraft I learned to fly in and first soloed in, and then on to an Air Force career after that. So my association with Jared happened when he bought the MiG, and a mutual friend of ours kind of put us together to kind of go through the process of purchasing the aircraft and learning how to fly it and getting it operational and getting it out to air shows like this.
Okay, so this is not exactly on the front line of the U.S. fighters. How did you first come to fly the MiG to be able to help Jared with that?
Well, I mean, I spent my Air Force career like Stroker did learning how to shoot this thing down. So it was a great opportunity to actually get to go fly it. So my background is in flight test. I went through test pilot school and did a lot of flight test work in the Air Force. I had a mutual friend who was flying it for Paul Allen's collection, excuse me, Vinnie Russell. He actually was one of the fortunate guys. We had about 3 exchange pilots when the wall went down. He went over to Germany and was able to be part of the frontline squadron flying the MiG-29 operationally while the Germans flew it. So he flew it for Paul Allen's collection, and then he checked me out in the aircraft from there.
Okay, so I'm jumping ahead. We were going to talk personal stuff, but now you're into the airplane. So what did you learn when you first flew the MiG-29 that you wished you had known when you're trying to shoot it down?
That is an excellent question. I would focus on, it's a fundamentally different philosophy in designing aircraft, right? The F-16, U.S. Western fighters are designed to have the 4-ship flight lead as the commander of the aerial engagement, right? So you try to provide all the information you can to the 4-ship flight lead and to the wingman so that you can make tactical decisions in real time and employ your aircraft as successfully as possible. The Russians had a different philosophy. Their aircraft were built as basically an extension of ground artillery. So they were very much reliant on ground control for their intercepts, for their employment of the aircraft. In the F-16, I could target multiple different aircraft at one time. In the MiG-29, if you put on the radar on a target, the IRST would be on that target, the missile would be on that target. You had one target that you could lock. And so the electronics, the avionics were just not as capable as what we had in the West. And it was due to a completely different design philosophy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I can see that. And the picture in the video of the cockpit, it looks like a very, very busy cockpit compared to, I think ours are more humanly friendly.
Yes.
Would that be a good way to say that? And tell me, so how did you end up with the Jared connection and your connection with NASA now?
Great question. Thank you. Thrilled to be here. I'm Stroker Gustafson. We met back in 2010 when I was leaving the Thunderbirds and got to start a jet team with Jared, the Black Diamond jet team back in the day, and it was awesome. Got to fly with Jaya Kirby, Snort Snodgrass, Slick Mom, and Tut Demko, and we had just such a great adventure, and then just grew that into Draken and more. But I think the best part about flying these aircraft is our amazing maintenance team, and they're probably scattered somewhere over there. So please give them a round of applause, because with them, we strap into these jets and just feel 100% safe. They are an amazing crew. They've been with us for years, and it's just that good bond between the pilot and the maintenance. You can walk right up and know that jet's ready to go. So we look forward to flying today, and it's been a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. And Jared, so you bought the MiG. You already had the F-5s, and they were part of Draken. Is that correct?
No. So the F-5s are relatively new addition to our fleet. We started to acquire them about a year ago. Maybe just a little bit over that, 14, 15 months ago in preparation for America 250th celebration. So we knew we were going to participate, and we're doing it in a lot of ways now with these aircraft. So NASA Workforce Incentive Flights are top performers that are helping us return to the moon and do all the other exciting things we're doing there, rocket flybys, but participating in the celebrations throughout this year. And kind of made sense to use a little bit more of a patriotic aircraft than probably the MiG-29. Although there's plenty of reasons to say, too, that we have it here, and they don't really have our planes, so that's good. But that was the purpose for acquiring these. We have 5 of them that are going to all be painted in these colors. 4 of them will fly here today. At Draken, we had a lot of different aircraft, but not F-5. So we had A-4 Skyhawks, like the first Top Gun. Some of them were really modernized with radar. We had Italian aircraft, we had aircraft from Israel, we had aircraft from France and Spain, from the Czech Republic. So generally we're using, other than the A-4, foreign aircraft so that it was something unfamiliar to the pilots. Versus the F-5s, which are fantastic, are very much part, even today, of the aggressor squadrons in the Navy and the Marine Corps. So if they already had it, we weren't probably adding as much value as, for example, a Mirage F-1 or an A-4 Skyhawk.
You and your aggressor training opportunities from the civilian contract side did something that our military actually could not do. You provided a service, and you still do. But to the F-5s and these beautiful paint jobs, Freedom 250, I believe when I asked this earlier in the green room here, the big smile came on their faces when I said, "Did you fly in D.C.?" So who wants to take that and tell us about the flight, the Freedom 250 for the 4th of July?
We sure did. So NASA aircraft, so a combination of the 4 F-5s that I was able to contribute into it, and then we had a F-15, F-18, and a T-38 from NASA. T-38's it's in the same colors it was in since Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin flew those T-38s. We're pretty classic in that regard at NASA. But the Eagle and the Hornet are painted up in a beautiful patriotic American flag scheme. So we had the 4 F-5s were the opening formation, and then we had the 3 NASA aircraft come behind it, and then for the next 8-9 hours, you had nonstop American air power flyovers over the 4th of July. Just extraordinary, right? I mean, the B-2, B-52, B-1, you had the new Air Force One flanked by 5th generation fighters. It was extraordinary. I mean, outside of coming here to EAA Oshkosh, I don't think you'd see a finer display of, American air power than what the president put on during our 250th birthday.
Thank you, and thank you for being a part of that. It was pretty phenomenal. But the key word in what we see here is freedom. And all those who serve in all the areas, the crew chiefs that you pointed out, the pilots. The pilots are the ones who end up with the glory, maybe, of flying the airplanes. But there are a lot of people that put these together, and that's called freedom. So thank you to all our veterans who provide that. So. And we pay tribute to those veterans here, and we have our eagle out here has the motto on it is "Thank you to all who serve." And that doesn't necessarily mean you served in the military, but we have a lot of volunteers at Warbirds of America who make this happen, just like the ground crews do in the military. So I shout out to all of them and to this incredible crew here at Warbirds in Review that allows us to put on programs like this. So that was just my little plug to say thank you to our crew. And thanks to all the crowd who's here. This is pretty phenomenal. Airplanes, how do you train? What was your first civilian jet that you trained in, Jared?
Well, outside of like corporate aircraft, it would have been a Canadair T-33. So that was about 2008 timeframe where I started flying that with Jive Kirby, and then L-39, A-4 Skyhawk, and I've been fortunate to fly a whole series of ex-military aircraft since. And look, like the key to anything, like just currency is real. As often as you can fly is great, especially when you start doing things like, close formation flying. But we're very fortunate now because everyone in the blue flight suit is getting an awful lot of flight time because we have an awful lot of really deserving NASA employees that we've been flying from centers across the country and taking them up for experiences they've never had before. So we're all staying very current, and these F-5s are doing a fantastic job keeping up the pace.
Could I get a part-time job with NASA?
That's part of why we do this.
Okay.
You recruit and retain the best.
Just put my name in the hat. I don't know that I'd be the best, but I'd certainly be enthusiastic. And I'll say, when you talk to these guys, it's like, yeah, okay, this, and when you watch an airplane fly on the screen or talk about them flying airplanes, that's what they do. The faces light up, the smiles come just like they do for a lot of you. And I know, Jared, your mentor, one of your instructors was Snort that we mentioned in the video. To all of you guys, what does it mean to have somebody who's so qualified and willing and able to convey what you need to know to keep you safe? How was Snort different?
Yeah, I mean, Snort one of a kind, right? I mean, legendary. Certainly the greatest pilot I ever knew. And beyond that, just an outstanding human being. Spent outside of all of his time preparing for combat as a naval aviator, he committed more so to inspiring the public, wowing everyone with his amazing command of aircraft, not just as the highest timed F-14 pilot in the world, but 1,000 hours in the F-86, not to mention all the other aircraft. He was amazing, and I'll tell you, from a leadership perspective, but also go as just an aviator. One of the things I admired about him the most is he was the first to own up in any debrief when he got something wrong. And that's why we debrief, right? And it's even when we get things as close to perfection as possible, you want to unpack that and figure out why it was so good so you can do it more like that going forward. But oftentimes, especially with a lot of aircraft and you're flying in air shows and doing formation, people are going to make mistakes. He's the first. I mean, legendary status. He could just sit there and stay quiet on it, and we'd know and be like, okay, he's got it or something. No, he was always the first. I totally screwed that up. Got that wrong. And that kind of extreme ownership is such an important lesson because it builds immense trust, right? First, when you have somebody that you respect so much, somebody who's so talented, who's coming out and saying, I got something wrong, brings the guard down for everyone else to do the same thing. And obviously real learning happens in that. But you establish this extreme trust that it's like, well, now I know for sure that's never going to happen again, right? And but the exact opposite happened, and is far more frequent in the debrief too, where somebody will try and explain it away, and come up with an awful lot of excuses for why something went wrong, and then you're like, well, that person's dangerous. Like, I'm never going to trust them again in that situation. I'm going to fly a little bit farther away or something because they didn't acknowledge the mistake they made, and clearly they're not learning from it and whatnot. And I thought that was amazing to think, like, one of the again, in my opinion, I've been lucky to fly with so many amazing pilots. The best, hands down, right? Had that extreme ownership, and I know it certainly made me a better pilot learning from him over the years, aside from just great human being, unbelievable leader. Snort's awesome. And deep connection, by the way, to some of the aircraft behind us. So oftentimes, if you were with Snort late at the bar, he would talk a lot about F-14, of course, highest timed naval aviator, highest timed F-14 guy in the world. But he spent a lot of time as an aggressor. And, he's a Top Gun grad, Top Gun instructor, but he had about 1,500 hours in the F-5E and 1,500 hours in the A-4 Skyhawk as well. He left the Navy with over 8,000 hours, just totally wild. And he would tell us an awful lot about these aircraft long before we ever flew them. And then I have no doubt that's been imprinted with a lot of us as we strap into the jet, knowing some of his experiences from it. And then, he spent an awful long time learning how to shoot these things down, and I think he did fire a couple missiles their way during Desert Storm. I don't think he got them. But he actually flew in this aircraft several times in the summer before he passed. So that was pretty cool as well. And he didn't bend the wings, because that's what I told him. Please, I understand they just pushed the Tomcat off the carrier, and there was always another one. There's only one of these, so we imposed a solid 7G limit on him before he strapped in.
Thank you, Jared. And your acquisition of this airplane, we covered it a little bit in the video, but you have surrounded yourself with people who are the best of the best, and they pass along that knowledge. And each has their own doubts, maybe at times, on how they're going to perform with an airplane. I have to tell you very quickly, Bud Anderson, our triple ace from World War II that we lost a few years ago, Bud was just an outstanding, the best of the best pilot. When Bud got in the Mustang after 40 years of not flying one, it was incredible that somebody that we admired so much. I said, Bud, what did you think? When you were, flying or landing that airplane for the first time? He said, I was thinking, oh God, don't let me screw up now. So we all strive to be really, really good, and I told these guys are taking pictures so that we will have a record of our record crowd here, I'm sure. And I told them if they made more than 2 passes, I would shoot them down. So everybody get ready. If they come back one more time, we've got them. Oops, here they come. Maybe they can't. So anyway, those photos will be valuable to us down the road. So we'll tolerate them for now. So everybody can wave at Ricardo. So thank you again for sharing the value of training. That is extremely important. So how do we move from being a kid who loved flying? You are a pilot. To me, you're a pilot first. You're a Warbird member, a Warbird enthusiast, and you can see that in your eyes, the twinkle you get when you talk about flying an airplane. But how do you move from that to the dream that you had to go to space as a kid? And now you're the NASA administrator, which I'll shut up and let you talk here in a minute. But I think we as Americans can be very thankful, very fortunate to have someone with Jared's background, his enthusiasm, and his knowledge to now lead our NASA team. So how do you make that transition, Jared?
Well, like I said, I did want to be an astronaut before I was a pilot. I do distinctly remember in kindergarten looking at picture books from the early shuttle missions, and I told my kindergarten teacher, someday I'm going to be an astronaut. And then as you grow up, it gets a little more realistic that probably not going to happen, better chance of getting struck by lightning, and started, which by the way is changing for everyone. Don't take that as a downer statement. We're fixing this. It's going to be a whole new world in the decades ahead. There's going to be lots of opportunities, I think, for tens of thousands of people to be living and working in space. But as a child of the 80s, it was probably not overwhelmingly good odds. So I became a pilot because I thought that was as close as I was going to get to the stars. And that journey was, again, I think in a lot of ways being inspired from the movies my parents put on the TV in front of me as a kid, absent a babysitter. Flight simulators, went to space camp, which, by the way, I don't know if we have some young folks here, parents thinking about where to park your kids for a week in the summer. Space camp in Huntsville, Alabama is just awesome. And it's not just space related too. They have aviation challenge there. I went there. And they have robotics camp now. They have cyber camp, basically all the most important domains for the future. And it's a national treasure because you're going to get experiences like you won't get anywhere else. And that obviously had an impact for me. In fact, the first time I was behind the controls of an aircraft was 12 years old because of going to space camp. And just kind of followed that along and made sure I had a parallel career in life from the first opportunity to keep flying and never slowing down and not turning down good opportunities and adventures along the way. Where I began was never anticipated there would be, record flights around the world or getting to fly with some of the best pilots in the world in air shows, or certainly not starting a bad guy for hire aviation business when we were doing the aggressor thing. So every new opportunity came along and you seize it. You're lucky enough to get it. You have to maximize those opportunities until very unexpectedly wound up working alongside the best from across the nation at NASA. And it's just a privilege every day.
Well, we thank you for what you do, and let's segue into the very, very successful NASA mission that the team accomplished. That was picture perfect from what I saw. Were there any surprises that made you go, what do we do now?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's wrong with it is we're just not doing it enough. That became very evident in February when we brought Artemis II out to the pad for wet dress rehearsal, and we wound up relearning the same lessons we learned on the uncrewed Artemis I mission 3.5 years earlier. And I know everybody here can appreciate this when you're doing complex, dangerous things like flying aircraft, especially high-performance ones. You're not going to be very good at it if you do it every 3.5 years. Hell, you're not going to be very good at golf if you do it every 3.5 years. So why would you think launching a rocket, as complicated as SLS with 5 prime contractors, hundreds of subcontractors, 8.8 million pounds of thrust to accelerate 4 human beings to about 25,000 miles an hour, that it was ever a good idea to do that so infrequently? And completely disconnected from the history of NASA, where if you go back from Mercury, through Gemini, Apollo, the whole shuttle era, every NASA-designed spacecraft, on average, launched every 3.5 months, not years. So we're fixing it. We started to standardize the rocket, not turn every one of them into a work of art. Lock in a configuration doesn't mean you can't learn and roll in improvements into the next vehicle, but let's try and keep the creativity to a minimum here and commit to at least launching this every year and start to learn and use what we learn to inform the next mission. And so we added a mission. So Artemis II, very successful, but we don't want to repeat again same lessons. We want to maintain that muscle memory. So we added Artemis III. We already started stacking that rocket, named the crew. It's going to be amazing. 3 most powerful rockets in the world will launch in this time next year, bring our landers with our crewed spacecraft together in Earth orbit, very Apollo 9-esque, only 3 massive rockets instead of 1. And we'll test out interoperability of the lander in Earth orbit and get good information and data from that to roll into Artemis 4 in 2028, where NASA astronauts return to the surface of the moon. Yeah. So.
As I said earlier, we're very fortunate to have someone with Jared's knowledge to be head of NASA. His enthusiasm, he obviously doesn't care about it, right? Can tell. This is where we're going. This is our future, and again, we thank you for that. That's pretty amazing that we can. We can do that, but you're right. Every 3.5 years, not very current on that. So, tell us about your inspiration for your commercial space mission. What was the driving force behind that? It was to offer it to people who otherwise would not be able to go into space, and so.
Yeah, so the Dragon spacecraft was born first out of the commercial cargo program. We had a very dark period at NASA when the shuttle was retired, And the president talks about it actually a lot, that when he visited Kennedy Space Center and saw grass, just all in the shuttle landing facility runway. I mean, 15,000 feet with so much history there, and it's very true, right? We spent more than almost a decade of relying on the Russians to send American astronauts to space, which is what a horrible setback for the nation. And we started to look to as our solution to it, to turn to industry and see if they could develop innovative, lower-cost solutions to regain this important capability in the United States. And it started with commercial crew or commercial cargo, and SpaceX contributed to that. Others like Northrop Grumman with Cygnus did as well. And then that evolved into, if we can bring cargo back and forth safely, can we do the same thing with crew? And that gave birth to the Dragon spacecraft. And you're talking between Falcon 9 and Dragon, a material reduction in cost to put mass, whether that's human, cargo, or other payloads, into orbit. A massive step in the direction we all want to go, because we're not going to have that future that SpaceX envisions of true spacefaring civilization if the costs don't materially come down. So they implemented rapid reusability. Even the Dragon capsule itself could be turned in a matter of 3 months before it would fly again. And that's mostly just rebuilding the thermal protection system on it. So a pioneering breakthrough, returned American spaceflight, crewed American spaceflight capability back to the United States after nearly a decade. And I had stayed very close to this industry for a very long time. I went to Baikonur, Kazakhstan, with the early commercial space pioneers in 2008. I actually just came back again about a week ago. A little bit different. There wasn't a Russian delegation that met me the first time, but there was this time. They actually had some questions about the MiG-29, if you can believe it. But anyway, all that aside, I stayed very close to this industry and got an opportunity. I had no idea that I'd have the chance to lead the first commercial mission to orbit, but I knew that came with a responsibility that we had to send the right message. We had to send a message that we can do these kind of exciting things that are different and build a more exciting and inspiring future for our children, and try and take care of some of the real hardships that are here on Earth. That's why there was always a big charitable component to it. We raised $250 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We took a childhood cancer survivor on the mission. She's still the youngest American to have gone to space, the only astronaut with a prosthesis to go to space. That's Haley Arsenault, amazing human being. But we were trying to be very thoughtful about the whole crew selection, the message that we were sending. And it gave birth to a series of exciting commercial missions. Maybe send a small message to the world that you don't have to be one of the lucky few to get selected at NASA to go to space. A kind of indication of what's to come in the years ahead.
Thank you. It was many of you probably watched the documentary that was developed around that mission, and it was impressive. And to the youth, I know that you are very generous and support many charities, including St. Jude. And we're just, it's nice to know someone who is passionate about giving back and encouraging the young people. And to your earlier comment about, it's about opportunity. And all of us here have an opportunity to open a door or crack a door for a youngster, but it's their choice to push it through. If they're willing to put the time in. We have an opportunity here in our country that they don't have other places. So, that's, again, my little speech of how we encourage young people. Tell me, Leif, how is it to fly a MiG-29 cross-country? We'll take a little of the pressure off of, what's it take to get that airborne?
Well, the interesting thing about the MiG, right, back to design philosophy, this was designed as a point defense fighter, right? So it was designed to be operated out of, Air Base A with all the support facilities there. And it was never actually designed to really go cross country. If you look at the Russian instrumentation, it's programmed with different channels, right? So the RISBN and the other navigation aids and so forth are all channelized, and that's set up to a particular airbase. I think one, because it's easier, and also, they didn't want these things defecting to the West as well, right? But the airplane requires more care and feeding than a Western jet would, right? For example, we use a drag chute on every landing, not because it's cool, but because it's necessary. The brakes on the airplane came from the MiG-29, and they're basically undersized for this aircraft. So if you lose the chute, you have a real high propensity of getting hot brakes, for example. The systems on the aircraft, brakes, and some other important systems are all pneumatics, so you have to refill nitrogen every time to get the canopy open, to get braking for the aircraft and so forth. So some different nuances here. And then when we bought the aircraft, it still had all the original Russian instrumentation. Those of you who have flown some of the former Russian and Eastern aircraft, you realize that the ADI is backwards, right? Once again, back to this ground-centric mentality, the ADI acts as though you are flying the airplane, looking at the airplane from behind it, as opposed to a U.S. or a Western ADI where you look at it as though you're in the airplane. So it's kind of a difference there. So we added some more modern avionics, put things into U.S. units of knots and feet, and that's allowed us to actually operate into the airspace. But as with any fighter aircraft, you are fuel limited from the time you take off trying to go cross country. So, from the time you start the engine to take off until you start your descent and landing, you're just wholly consumed about fuel on a cross country and the weather and what's going on at the landing location.
So what's interesting, just to jump on that, is if you talk to a lot of F-5 pilots, they will complain about the available fuel that you have on it, and until you fly a MiG-29, you have no idea how good you have it.
Exactly.
We light load these things. Like when we fly later today, we're going to leave 1,000 pounds of gas on the field. It's actually amazing. You can use afterburner as much as you want, really, in the F-5s, and you can plan some pretty decent cross countries and not elevate your blood pressure. Whereas in this aircraft, we have a centerline tank on it. We'll put a little bit of gas in there too, even though G limits it. And you're definitely, your blood pressure is up from the moment you take off, thinking about how much gas you're going to have when you get to the field. Two very different worlds between these two platforms.
Well, and so what possible potential range in the F-5, time-wise?
I think you're both approximately zero wind, 600 nautical miles would be.
Okay.
Would be right. You're going to get there a lot faster, though, probably in that one, if you want.
Oh, well, I would think. And I assume that there was refueling capability for the 29, yes or no?
Some of the later variants had refueling capability, but once again, go back to that point defense mindset. We don't want these things coming into...
They didn't want them to go very far.
They didn't want them to go very far. The original aircraft, the A's and C's really didn't have refueling capability. It was only later variants that did.
Right. So, they thought people would run away and come to this great country, and who would blame them, right?
Right.
Exactly. So it's amazing that, our time is slipping by here. So would you guys like to add anything about the personal side of flying these airplanes or your training? And then we'll move into walking around the airplanes a little bit.
Sure, I'd like to say one more thing. It's just for the younger people out there, it is aviation is awesome. I grew up in the Great White North, and very few opportunities, but in this amazing country of America that we have here, look around. Look at this place that we are. We were in Sun and Fun a couple days ago, it feels like, but Oshkosh is amazing. So ask the questions, never take no for an answer, and find the people that say yes, like Jared for NASA. It's definitely changing NASA, and it's so awesome seeing everybody so motivated across America to make this great race to the moon happen. So I just want to say to the young people, stick with it and follow your dreams.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great race to the moon again. We definitely did it the first time, to be very clear.
Right.
Oh, so that wasn't Hollywood, or no. Yeah. We saw that first step on the moon. Some of us are that old, and that was a moment, and we'll have that moment again. We will. One of you want to tell us a little bit about the F-5? It started out with a little bit about a T-38, but it evolved into something that's not really very close to the T-38, which NASA used for years for the astronauts to fly.
Oh, still do. So there's going to be a T-38 that's NASA T-38 that's going to be showing up this afternoon. I mean, our serial number is no kidding. You've got Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin that have logged time in them, which it's great from a historic perspective, but it also speaks a little bit to our budget that we're making good do. But great airplanes for that purpose: high consequence training, crew resource management. Not all. I mean, just so you know, a very small percentage of the NASA astronaut corps that's selected each time will have test pilot or military aviator backgrounds. So a lot of them are geologists and scientists, engineers from different fields, and they pair incredibly well together. When you put a test pilot, for example, in the front seat, and you've got an engineer in the back, and then they can work together on their cross countries. And again, it just gives you that kind of training that you're not going to get in the simulator with a reset button. But very big difference between T-38 and this. So we do have more gas, and that it's much more maneuverable. Our engines are higher performance thrust. The avionics in these aircraft are very modernized. So you have a really beautiful Garmin flight deck in it. There's a little bit older generation, so actually some of the maintenance-related issues are because of obsolescence in avionics, where these are pretty rock solid. You obviously have a leading-edge device on this, and they're auto-maneuvering. So our instantaneous and our sustained turn rate is substantially better than the T-38. So what does that mean? We can have more fun in these aircraft than they can. But otherwise, I mean, look, reasonably reliable. But I will say, and probably I'd say most people would get this wrong. And I speak beyond just these two aircraft, and actually a lot of the history we had at Draken operating foreign aircraft. The MiG-29 probably edges it out on reliability. We've many times turned this aircraft 5 times a day, which I think even for any of the modern military aircraft would be a little eye-watering on that. Now, there are certainly disadvantages here. When it comes time to pay the engine bill, that's expensive. And it comes around rather frequently because of their limitations of high-temperature materials. Every 350 hours, we're overhauling these engines. These go out closer to 500 hours, and it is a much less expensive bill. But this is a very reliable aircraft. These are reasonably reliable too, but generally speaking, in a design philosophy where engines and parts were part of a jobs program, there was always excess on Soviet aircraft. So we're 30 days away from seat overhauls, from ejection seat pyro, most components other than engine overhauls. Here, I mean, we put new Martin Baker seats into all of the F-5s because if you were waiting on the Northrop pyro, and again, this is nothing on Northrop, but generally American design, you'd be waiting probably 10 years for it to show up. So very big differences between the worlds, and a lot of times the foreign aircraft can edge out on reliability, but when it comes to capabilities of like who's seeing the other person and shooting them down first, you'd probably want to bet on America every time.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you said that. So you don't go on the internet and order parts for a MiG-29, though, do you?
Sometimes.
Okay, that works. So the F-5, I mean, what was the armament? Were they designed for? I mean, we see the holes in the nose, and so one of you, whoever takes it, training, yes, but the fighting capability.
Yeah, I mean, the F-5 was designed as a lightweight, low-cost fighter, right? So you had some basic heat-seeking air-to-air missiles, guns. It could drop some unguided weapons and so forth. But the design philosophy behind the aircraft was simplicity, and we mostly employed it in the Air Force as an aggressor to simulate enemy air-to-air aircraft.
And
yeah, that's U.S.
Right.
Air Force,
Right?
And as aggressors, we put. Like in Vietnam, for example, you'd have heaters on it. There are pictures of it loaded up with bombs, even on A and B models, and you're wondering, that's got to be like a 12,000-foot takeoff roll. But just to point out, there's over 1,000 still in service of F-5 Tiger IIs in foreign nations, and they've upgraded big time. I'm talking like helmet-mounted cueing sights. They put modern radars in it. The Israelis and the Italians have put basically like APG-68 equivalent radars in it, and they've got beyond visual range missiles on them. Jammer pods. So the Brazilians, air-to-air refueling. These aircraft have evolved considerably beyond what the U.S. Air Force, or beyond what the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps use them for as aggressors.
Well, we support with our technology a lot of nations who then take it and fit it to their needs. Did either of you fly the T-38 or? And of course, Thunderbird. Yes, you would.
We both flew T-38s for pilot training.
Yeah. So you were in that era, and I know that we have a lot of Vietnam veterans here, pilots who probably trained in the T-38. So just for fun, do we have anybody out here who trained in a T-38? Yeah. Okay. So if you have any questions you don't want to answer, we'll ask one of those guys. So thank you, guys. It's a great-looking airplane. Yeah, I'd love to get a hold of any of them, but that's amazing that we are almost out of time. But tell us, about some of the capabilities or some of the things you see on this MiG-29 that people would want to know. Jared, tell us about your airplane.
So many of you probably already know this, but you'll certainly see it on startup today. That FOD is a huge issue with jets, right? And you take an F-16 where it's intake very low to the ground. You get a stone comes in, nicks a fan blade. You're pulling the engine, and you're doing a lot of work there. If you've never been and seen Russian runways, they're horrible. Worst thing you can imagine. I mean, there's just it's totally an off-roading event. So they're really genius rather than just trashing motors all the time. On startup, you're going to notice the intake ramp will come down and close off entirely the intake on start. And it's going to draw all of its airflow from up towards the wing root here. And it stays that way throughout the entire taxi and takeoff right up to about 130 knots. So as you watch us fly later today, we'll be in full afterburner going down the runway, and these ramps will remain closed. And about 130 knots, they'll open. And by the way, that's your refusal speed, because once that happens, so you go into full afterburn this, you're getting thrown back in the seat, right? Once those intakes come open, all that airflow comes in, you're thrown back even more. And you're going from 130, you're blowing through 160 knots in like a second, right? So you're committed at that point in time. But that's, in a completely ingenious way, and you're really not taking on a big mass penalty because you're going to need those ramps anyway for your high supersonic flight, right? So taking advantage of hardware that they were going to have to put in a genius engineering solution to save their engines. Probably one of the most unique things I would say about the MiG-29.
Well, we'll look forward to watching that takeoff today. And now, do you have a time that you could share with us when you're going to fly? I don't want to put you on the spot. I know the schedule, but you are going to fly today, right?
Yeah. So we're going out for just a local area story after the air show closes around 5:30 or 6. But tomorrow we'll do a mini demo, at least the extent you can, without a jet box.
Cool. You guys have anything to add, I guess I should open it up for questions, although, we could run over 2 hours here.
The only other thing I'd point out about the airplane when you compare it to an F-16 or another Western fighter is you can look at the fit and finish is not nearly as pristine as a Western fighter. Western fighters are more works of art. This was a workhorse kind of airplane, so you can see that in some of the finishing. And the other interesting thing, if you compare this to an F-16, if you look at the thickness of the wing, right, the airplane was designed for much slower speed flying than an F-16. So the thickness of chord on the wing is a lot more so than a modern fighter. As compared to an F-15, it's got leading edge devices, which helps it with its low speed turn performance. So there's some interesting design philosophy things in this aircraft. I think one of the unique things from an avionics standpoint is this aircraft had a helmet-mounted cueing system well before any of the Western fighters did, which allowed with their Archer missiles to take a shot, 45 degrees off. And back to some of their ingenious design philosophies, we would have gone through and done 1,000 different computer programs and simulations and some of the stuff we use with JHEMIX and so forth. They've got 2 spinning mirrors on the heads-up display, and there's 3 diodes on the helmet-mounted cueing system. It's just a little monocle that comes down, and based on that, they can determine where the helmet is pointing and cue the missile in that direction, which was a huge close-in combat capability advantage that these aircraft had well before us. So some interesting design philosophies on, they've taken a simple approach where we a lot of times take a complex approach, and you, like Jared said, you get a very robust aircraft that has some unique capabilities. Not all advantages, but in some realms it's a lot better off.
Yeah, maybe just give you a little bit of sense on performance here, right? So 3rd generation versus 4th generation fighter. 3rd generation, if you're at 400 knots in this aircraft in full afterburner and you pull into a 7G turn, you're going to be out of airspeed in 180 degrees. Like it bleeds off energy incredibly quickly. You can see the wing on it. Versus this aircraft is loving it. If you're at 10,000 feet, you're going to give up on it, or you're going to run out of gas. But the airplane's going to be totally fine. And when we land, so this airplane, you're taking off at 160 knots approximately, hot out, full of fuel. And when you're coming back in to land, and you're trying to get on speed in it, the aircraft is not perfectly stable as it's coming back. I mean, you're trying to, come down and land the aircraft without carrying a ton of extra knots, and because you're going to eat up runway very quickly on this one. Versus this aircraft, when we come in and land at about 155 or a few knots above that on this, the airplane will fly slower than that without any issue at all. It's incredibly stable. The whole fuselage is a lifting surface, and really, what we're trying to do when we come in on speed in this is simply not scrape the burner cans. Because you can actually certainly come in a lot slower than that, but then you're going to have a scrape X.
Not good. Okay, I think we have a question. I'm sorry. Guys in flight suits can't ask questions. So leave his mic off. It's okay.
How about now? Oh, contract.
Okay.
I'm
Yes,
Ed
sir.
McElhenney, by the way, Connie. I'd like to marry. Oh, I did marry you. Okay, I remember now. But no.
Was that your
you've
question? Get on your knees.
I've already, you all have already said and spoken to this, but I'd like to see it in action, and I do it in all my programs, and I just like to have our veterans, active duty, reserve, guard, please stand up so we can say thank you. Thank you for your service, every one of you. And all 3 of those guys should be standing up right now, too, by the way. All 3 of them, absolutely. Jared, you count, man. Yes, you do, okay? Thank you. I won't take up any more time. Sorry about that.
No, that's. I'm glad you made the comment. It wasn't a question, but it was. Although I accepted, I said I'll think about it, but then I said yes. So, thank you again to all our veterans in all seriousness. And sir.
Yeah, Aaron Henry, fan of progress here. But the NASA GAO report came out, and it is widely reporting high performance throughout NASA right now. So good job, Jared. So my question for you is, what specific efficiencies or program accelerations are you going to push forward now that GAO is kind of clean?
Well, first of all, I really have done not much other than focus the agency on where we're supposed to be putting our energy towards, and a lot of that credit actually goes to the president who created the national space policy and said return to the moon, build a moon base, and prepare for where we inevitably go next, which is Mars, and then try and clear away a lot of the obstacles and bureaucracy that impede the best and brightest from doing their job. I mean, there's no one who aspires. It's hard as hell to come and work at NASA. I mean, even our internship programs, you're talking about less than 1% get selected. Highly motivated, very intelligent people want to come and work at NASA not to lose. They want to change the world in air and space. So if we weren't moving at the pace we needed to be, we just needed to clear away and release the shackles from that talent to start moving. And they're doing it. And they're moving in the direction that we all want to see, that we've been patiently waiting for a long time, which is towards the moon. And we're still doing all the other things, great science missions, rebuilding our X-plane portfolio and such. So the ingredients were all there already at NASA, and I'm just grateful to be there and serve alongside them.
Thank you, Jared. So do we have another question? I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Yes, sir.
Hello. For anyone, what aircraft that you haven't flown would you like to try?
SR-71 Blackbird.
I would absolutely have to second that one.
I would fourth that. 4.
Well, do you have the power to bring that back then, Jared? That's the next question.
That's classified.
I think that's pretty cool. So, okay, Mary, we have another one here.
So this is kind of a deep question, but was there ever a point where you doubted yourself along your path to where you guys are now? And if you were mentoring somebody along that same path, maybe say in 10, 15 years, what would you tell that kind of person?
100%, right? I think along the road, anything that you're doing in life, if it's worthwhile, it's challenging, it takes a lot of effort, and failure is an option, right? Failure happens all the time. And I think it's really what you do to pick yourself up, surround yourself with great people, and move forward, because that's really where you learn. Like Jared was talking about debriefs. It has to be brutal. It has to be honest. And I went through a phase when I was doing my F-16 instructor pilot checkout, right, where I was great at dogfighting as a wingman, and then I'm trying to lead this and teach it, and I couldn't fly myself out of a paper sack at that point, right? And it took some good friends, some good mentoring, some good hard work, and it came back and it worked on it. And that's an analogy for, any hard thing in life. There will be challenges. You will not be perfect at everything. You cannot expect to be perfect at everything. But hard work and perseverance don't guarantee success, but it's important to developing the character that will allow success in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just say, too, there's some differences here. If you're chasing your passion, what you absolutely love, and you're running into resistance and you're starting to doubt yourself, I mean, that is absolutely don't give up and get whatever help you need and support and work as hard as you possibly can, and you will likely overcome it. What I would say is if you're not on the path you want to be. So, for example, again, I talked about less than 1% of NASA's interns get selected for programs, and they take whatever the first opportunity is. And I speak to many of them where, like, I'm here, I'm working on, materials science, and, but I'm really passionate about human spaceflight. Or I want to work on the next rover to go to Mars, and this isn't doing it for me. Well, that's not an example of, like, you need to push through. You have to find your way back to your course. Again, right? And I say that, like, do whatever you need to do right now here to learn from this unique opportunity you have, but start meeting people and start networking and talking to folks where you ultimately want to be, because I don't think you ever reach your full potential unless you absolutely love every bit of it and passionate about it. And it's very hard to have passion and love for something that you're not very good at, or it's not directly in your calling. So yes, even if you're doubting yourself, is this where I want to be? And try and bring yourself back to the course you do want to be on, and then give it everything you got. See a young person right here with a question. We got to do that.
Oh, okay. This little girl will go wherever she wants to go.
Love the outfit. Looking good.
Look, I've been waiting 2 years now. Can I have my hug?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
It's a tough one.
Oh, my word. I hope you all can see that. Okay, me next. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I just to add my personal note to dream big. To the ladies out there, I'm always surprised when somebody says, "You encouraged me to learn to fly. You encouraged me." Well, I'm just a pilot. not as good as the rest of these guys, but dream big and persevere. I mean, that is a really, really good way to start. Make sure that you believe in what you do, and you do not have to be perfect, but be as good as you can be. And to all of you girls out there, and you guys, we're just pilots or engineers or whatever you want to do, but go for it. And speaking of going for it, we can take one more question, and Jared has somewhere else where he has to be, but we could keep him all day, I think, and the rest of the panel here. Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you all for your time and knowledge and sharing that. My question is, can you share your experience a little bit on the Mach regime, sensations, performance, when you're going supersonic?
I'd like to take that one. I would like to take that one because one of my last flights in F-16 down in Miami at Homestead Air Reserve Base, I got to go over the Mach 2.0, so it was like 2.0 something, and it was awesome. Up at 50,000 feet, and the fuel is ticking up there, like 80,000 pounds per minute, or whatever the number is. It's awesome. And everybody says, well, what does it feel like to go supersonic? And all you see is a little altimeter do a little dip at Mach 1, and then you have to go dive down a bit and then climb back up, and then you're really going fast. That's 20 miles a minute, and it is just the coolest thing on earth. So some people have gone a little bit faster than that, like Jared, 25,000. How many? 17?
Mach 28.
Yeah, so it's, I'll stop talking.
Okay, and I know we're running long, but nobody's given us the hook yet. But Jared, you have quite a few world records that we never hear about or never talk about. Would you like to take just however much time you think you have and tell us about some of your other accomplishments?
Well, I've been fortunate to be on a lot of cool adventures with aviation. Let me tell you, I can tell you a cool world record, which was not, I was there, but it wasn't mine, and it was recently shattered, which, like all good records, should be. So when I went to space on Polaris Dawn, we were the farthest into space since the Apollo era. We went to about 1,400 kilometers, kissed the inside of the Van Allen belt, and two of my crew members, Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon, became the women who traveled farthest from Earth ever. And then when Artemis II flew in about 13 minutes, that record got blown away. And Christina Cook, she obviously became the first female to go to the moon.
Cool. Okay. I think we are definitely out of time, but I would like to say, on behalf of EAA Warbirds of America and all of the people here who are passionate about aviation, I thank you, Jared, for being a Warbird member, for being a supporter of Warbirds. We keep them flying is our motto, and good role models and people who will come out and share your stories with the Warbirds of America audience. And Leif Stroker, thank you again.
Inspired by the veterans in my family, I started the Gary Sinise Foundation in June of 2011. It has been my honor to support and uplift our nation's defenders, our active duty service members, first responders, veterans, and the families who sacrifice alongside them. This has all been possible thanks to our incredible supporters. I am grateful to each and every one of you for your generosity. You help us to bring hope and healing to so many. To all of you, and to our nation's heroes who are serving, have served, and to your families, thank you. To learn more, visit GarySiniseFoundation.org.
40 years ago, a community came together with a shared purpose: to train better, fly smarter, and make aviation safer. From humble beginnings to a worldwide network, the North American Trainer Association has shaped generations of pilots and instructors. Flying is a discipline. It's the early mornings, the checklists repeated, the lessons learned again and again until precision becomes instinct. And safety? Safety is an attitude, a mindset carried into every decision, every flight, every generation we train. For 40 years, the North American Trainer Association has stood for excellence, not just in how we fly, but in how we think, prepare, and lead. Because in aviation, discipline builds skill, and attitude saves lives. Here's to 40 years of commitment, and to the future we'll keep shaping together.
The name Jane is actually the name of his wife. Making it exactly how it was flown by actually Bert Marshall, who was the WWII pilot.
Keeping these airplanes flying preserves stories that will no longer be told by the greatest generation.
Through restorations and flying, we were able to continue their legacy and remember their sacrifices. And that's really the most important thing when you're flying these airplanes. When you go somewhere, you have the responsibility to share with people what they did, and that these aren't just airplanes, they help save our freedom.
It's hard to imagine a more podcast-worthy aviator than Robert Hoot Gibson. He's a degreed aeronautical engineer, a naval aviator with 300-plus combat missions, graduate Top Gun, graduate Naval Test Pilot School, NASA astronaut commander with 5 space shuttle missions, chief NASA astronaut, Southwest Airlines captain, world champion unlimited class air race champion. A new season of Hoot's Hangar, the exclusive podcast produced in Hoot's home studio, will shortly be in production. In this series, Hoot and an endless string of compelling guests cover all things aero combat flying, space travel, air racing, aircraft design and performance, high-profile accident investigations, RC modeling, home building, and more. Join Hoot Gibson and his guests in Hoot's Hangar, the most compelling podcast in aerospace. Now, get unlimited access to all episodes for less than a trip to the coffee bar. Just $9.95 a year. Just go to airtoairtv.com to gain access and subscribe.
Buck 1, Warhawk 40, second cam has bragged.
Warhawk 40, Fox 1, have you loud and clear. Enemy vehicle, IVO, Blue Mountain runway.
As much as I'm looking forward to having a successful mission, cleaning all this up and getting back, it's kind of sad that this could be the last time that these guns ever fire again.
This side, hot, ready to go. That side is moments away from all 6 ripping down range.
3 is hot. 100 feet MSL, 5, vehicle convoy, 6, target location, Blue Mountain runway, 7. Attack heading 200. Attack heading 200. Copy all. Here, arm and hot.
I guess I was fairly apprehensive the whole time that I was flying in combat. And I guess there's good reason to feel that way. I'm there to cause a lot of damage and a lot of harm, and therefore they would like to damage me. And I was 25 years old at that time. Top Gun was really a thrill. I must have done well in actual combat because at the time I was just a lieutenant junior grade, which is a first lieutenant in the Air Force. And so I may have been the very first lieutenant junior grade to go through Top Gun. STS-27 was my third launch, and it was only the second launch after the Challenger accident. Well, I will never forget, we maneuvered the arm, and Mike Mullane was my arm operator, so he moved the arm over there, and we brought up the television image of the right wing, and I looked at what I was seeing, and I said to myself, we are gonna die. Well, there's a lot of piloting that goes into it, a tremendous amount of piloting that goes into it, because you're going to wind up passing other airplanes. You're going to get in a duel with another airplane that's fairly closely matched. So there's a ton of satisfaction from doing that. And hey, let's just talk about the racing itself. It's fun to fly low, but it's dangerous.
In 1937, Japan began a war of conquest to gain control of China's vast natural resources. Japan needed them to supply its planned conquest of the entire Pacific region. By 1941, estimates are some 1 million Japanese ground troops were committed to this effort, and the Imperial Air Force had begun a merciless campaign of indiscriminate bombings of Chinese cities and civilian centers. The loss of innocent life and suffering was incalculable. China's Air Force was all but non-existent. There was no way to defend the cities. But in 1941, Claire Chennault, a retired U.S. Army Air Corps officer consulting with the Chinese Republic, convinced President Roosevelt to let him recruit and supply a volunteer force of U.S. pilots to defend China's skies. The legendary American volunteer group, Flying Tigers, were born. This year marks the 85th anniversary of the AVG Flying Tigers. Perhaps you've been concerned with the failure of our schools to teach the history of World War II, the event that literally shaped the world we now live in. Air-to-air-tv.com is a growing archive of World War II history. With this special offer, you can give the gift of history to a student or anyone who will value it for less than a trip to the coffee shop. Just go to air-to-air-tv.com to gain access and to give the gift of knowledge.
At JetGlo, we believe an aircraft is more than aluminum, paint, and rivets. It carries stories. Stories of sacrifice, stories of service, stories of the men and women who stepped forward when our country needed them the most. As a veteran myself, I understand that these aircraft are not just museum pieces. They are flying reminders of the courage, skill, and sacrifice of generations before us. That is why Warbirds in Review matters. Every time one of these machines starts, taxis, and takes to the sky, history becomes real again, not just for pilots, not just for veterans, but for families, young people, and the future generations who need to see it, hear it, and feel it. At JetGlo, we are proud to support the Warbird community, aircraft owners, operators, and the people who work so hard to keep these aircraft flying. We specialize in aviation-only detailing, aircraft appearance and preservation care, bright work polishing, window restoration, ceramic coatings, and condition maintenance, because preserving an aircraft's appearance is part of preserving its legacy. JetGlo is based right here in Oshkosh, and we are proud to support Warbirds in Review. To every veteran, restorer, crew chief, pilot, and volunteer who keeps history alive, thank you. JetGlo is proud to stand with you, because every flight deserves a JetGlo.